that, guys? Is that? Hello? Yes, good. So we should be getting a bit of sound there. If you're getting sound, if you've got vision, I know there's a bit of a delay on there, then put a little one, put a number one in the Facebook thread. If you found that thread, stick a little number one in there. We know that you're listening, and we know who's still with us. You know, a good sort of 50 minutes late. How many burpees is that? But anyway, we're here now. We've got quite a few things to go through. We'll keep this. Yeah, brilliant. Good. We're getting some spot ons and some number ones. Thank you very much, Kate. Who is it? Kathy that's getting a number one. Greg, good to see you on the webinar, mate. I'm loving your posts, and you, Doug. It's great to see you on the in the group, as active as you are and doing as well as you are. So really, this was sort of penciled in for about an hour. I know we're 50 minutes beyond time already. I can't say that without smirking, because I know anyone that's been to Bootcamp has done a whole lot of pain just because they're a little bit late. But we're a little bit late. Anyway, let's crack on. There's a few things that we're going to go through, Lorne and I. This is the first webinar that we've got for 2016, and Lorne and I are both really, really excited about 2016 because we've sort of committed to quite a bit. We've committed to quite a bit, not so much for ourselves, but in order to bring the very best results and everything for you guys. And one of the things that we've committed to is running these webinars, these training webinars, every 2 weeks for the next 12 months at least. All right, and if they go really, really well, then obviously we'll keep that going, and we'll make it a focal part of what we do each week. And we're going to share lots of different stuff, lots of different topics every time we do a webinar. So stay tuned. And what we want to do as well is grow this, make it bigger, get a bigger community. The virtual bootcamp. I mean, I've got to say, thanks a lot to everybody that's involved in that and that's getting stuck in. Doug especially, who we sort of nominated this week as our virtual bootcamper of the week. Those of you that have been to Team Bootcamp or not, and had a residential camp here, you know that we dish out awards and certificates every week, and one of them is the Bootcamper of the week, the person that we decide has put the most in or have made the most progress and all that kind of stuff. And Doug has been our very first sort of virtual Bootcamper of the week, so well done, Doug, and thanks for being active in the group. All right, so we're going to crack on. We're going to chat about stuff. The way that this is going to run, basically, we're going to start off. We've done a little bit of housekeeping now. I can see that there's people on the Facebook group already. That little thread that's on Facebook, that's what we're going to use to get a bit of interaction with the group. So if you've got questions, if you've got comments, Lorne will keep a sort of steady eye on the Facebook thread and see how that's going. I'll use the old ones and twos for yes and no and all this kind of stuff. So that's pretty much all we need to do. If you need to drop out because time's knocking on and all this kind of stuff, I'm under the impression that I'm recording from here on in. Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to have a replay, and because this is now broadcasting over YouTube, we can, it will be up there on the YouTube channel forever as well. So that's good. We was going to fly through a little bit of team news, Lorne.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to sort of take over on that, and because I've done a fair bit of talking now. So
you have. Just firstly, we had about 40 minutes of drama there, and I saw Craig under pressure, which was quite good fun. And as always, he delivered. There's a little part of me that thought he wasn't at one point, but so sorry for doubting him.
And me.
Yeah, great to have you on board, guys. Great to have everyone here. Can see that we've got sound everything sorted. A little bit of team news. So we started off the year. We had a really good week so far. The weather's been by no means ideal, but everyone's cracked on. A little bit of news on our long-termers. Adam doing really well. Adam's now moved on to a specific strength program, and he now goes off camp to conduct strength sessions away, whilst we get him ready to go back to his normal life. James continuing to do very well, and we've also taken on a couple more long-termers. Eva has come over from Norway, and we've got CJ, who's actually French, from Dubai. So in terms of team news, it's been a great start to the year, and everyone's doing well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been an exceptional start. I think we had our first week over the New Year period, and it was a really, really good feeling on camp. 2016, there's a definite buzz since Lorne's come on now full time. We've doing things like this. The virtual boot camp's running. There's a massive buzz and so many things coming up later in the year. It's quite exciting for everybody. So we're all riding this wave. So that's good to see. It's good to be part of. All right, so a bit of an introduction then for this webinar, and a lot the way this webinar is going to run. There's going to be two parts. First of all, there's going to be our sweet success part. So we're going to talk about the sugar-free thing, which I know a lot of people have what's this? No sound, but Craig, you've got a lovely smile. Thanks, Joy. Just catching up there. Hopefully you got the sound now. Yeah, so it's going to be in two parts. We're going to start off with our little thing about sugar, and after that, then we queued a few questions up a week or so ago. I think it was just slightly before New Year, actually.
Yeah, about 3 weeks now.
A few people had posted some questions there. If you're waiting for your question, the questions we've got a couple of questions on supplements from Z and Siobhan, if they're kicking about. We've got a couple of questions on habits and behaviours from Kate and Doug, and then another question on training from Kate. Now, obviously, we want to try and restrict this to about an hour. I know we've started a little bit late, so we will try and do our hour. We'll commit to our hour. If you've got questions, then stick them in the Facebook thread, and really, ring us dry of all the information, the stacks of knowledge and experience here, and if nothing else, stacks of very, very honest opinion. Sometimes, if science is a bit lacking, or you just want someone to make a decision for you, you need a bit of an honest opinion. So here it is. There's two lads here that'll give you that. Once we've done that, obviously we'll open up to the floor, ask more questions, whatever questions you want, and then a bit of a look forward to what's coming in the next couple of weeks. Done. Okay, so if you've got that, if you're looking forward to that, if you've got questions, stick them in the Facebook thread. If not, and you're just getting everything loud and clear, just give us a little number one so we know that everybody's on the right track and getting stuff. Okay, well, we're going to crack on. I think we've got a one then. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's good. We're getting a few ones there from people.
Yeah, plenty of ones.
Plenty of ones. Brilliant. All right, so we're going to talk about this sweet success thing, right? I laugh because I don't quite know how I got hooked into this, but I think it was down to you, Lorne, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So where did this little challenge come from?
It follows on from an existing challenge that I did last year. One of my first weeks or so at team, about 15 months ago, I was given a talk, and the topic of alcohol came up and how it's very difficult to not do it, and all these constraints and all these behaviours that people put on themselves. And I'd said, well, I think it's quite easy, and I got into a bit of a conversation with the camp. I said, well, I don't think it is, and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, I'll do it for 12 months. So I did it for 12 months. I didn't have a drop of alcohol, and that finished just gone on New Year's Eve. And I quite liked it. I quite liked, firstly, challenging myself, and secondly, it gave me something to talk about, and interact with other people and see how, and look at the obstacles they've had to overcome. So then I thought, follow on from that, and I'll go 12 months no sugar. And I mentioned it to Craig, and like anyone who likes a challenge, he went, yeah, I'm up for that. So it was kind of born from that. That's how it kind of started. Yeah,
it was always kind of on my radar, to be honest. I've always been sort of quite acutely aware of what's happening in the fitness industry, and I can see a huge wave now, and perhaps you lot have picked up on this as well, of this anti-sugar thing. I mean, even Weight Watchers, which, good or bad, whatever your opinion is, Weight Watchers, they're starting to change, and they're starting to bring a lot more, of a focus on sugar being bad. And Lauren and I was talking before this webinar, and we're sort of saying, we don't like to pitch anything as bad or say that we hate anything, but I truly hate sugar. Like I truly believe it's bad. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I completely agree. follow on. Yeah, I don't like to give anything a negative connotation. I don't like to associate any bad feelings, especially anything directed at food. But yeah, a special place is reserved for sugar.
Yeah, I'm just quite interested now if you could just whack a comment in the Facebook thread. You know, if you were sort of thinking before this challenge came along and you thought sugar was a bit of a problem, it's something you needed to cut out, then just put it, hell yeah, or whatever. I don't know what you put in there. I don't know what's cool nowadays, but just let us know so that we know on the right thread. And as we go through this webinar, just to make sure we are, you know, it's not just a one-way thing all the time. Get your comments in there. So you know, Law mentioned he was going to do this 12 months of sugar. For me, obviously I've got this run coming up, this little jog across the Sahara, and to be honest, I need to drop a bit of weight for it. I don't want to be carrying in excess sort of 10 kilos across the desert when I don't need to be. And I know a lot of focus on that. It's got to be in the sugar. If you don't know, sugar is the fat storage hormone. Okay, wrong. Sugar creates a response in the body that sends out a message for the body, you know, for the body to store fat. It's all controlled by, you know, by the amount of sugar and everything that we consume. This is completely off the cuff, but Lorne, do you want to just drop in a little bit about sugar and the evils of sugar? And
yeah. So first question from Kathy there. What do we class as a sugar? Now, obviously, when we're here, I give a full lecture on sugar. But we'll just shorten that down. We're looking at any refined added sugars. For me, personally, I don't include fructose in that. Fructose is completely separate entity in itself, and we can talk about that, and we will cover that. But for the purposes of this challenge, it's any refined added sugar to a product that it wouldn't have it there naturally. That is what we class as a sugar. And it, you know, even starting this challenge, obviously I was acutely aware of the challenges I was going to face. Not all of them, and you know, and we'll cover that. Sorry, guys, just reading these. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, there's some great comments coming in. I know we just sort of completely tranced out there, but there's lots and lots of comments coming in, as you can see on Facebook. So follow that along.
Right, we'll just for a second, we'll just deal with what the challenge, you know, what it actually means and what the effects of sugar can be on the body. So very, very briefly, if you've already known this, if you've already sat one of my lectures, then I apologise. For those that haven't, listen up. So we'll take a molecule of glucose, for example. So that goes into our bodies, and then the body has to deal with that. It needs to do something with that molecule of glucose. So what it does is it releases a hormone called insulin, which I'm sure you've all heard of insulin. And essentially what insulin does is that goes round and it knocks on the doors to cells and it says, we've got some sugar, this needs to come in, because our blood sugar is raised. The body likes to keep blood sugar at a set level, at homeostasis, and it knocks on the door and it says, right, let this sugar in. Now, that's absolutely fine. That's an evolutionary mechanism that's been involved, that's been part of us for millennia. And it was evolved for a very, very good reason. We are used to, as human beings, encountering seasonal fruit at the end of an autumn, where that's the only time we'd really come into contact with sugar in nature. We would consume fruit for the purpose of building up fat storage through the winter. Absolutely fine when we were roaming the savannas, but unfortunately we don't roam savannas anymore, and we have an absolute abundance and an excess of sugar, which has led to the obesity epidemic that we're now facing.
I mean, let me just jump in there. So a couple of months ago, I was just parked outside of school. Nothing weird, all right. Just for whatever reason, I was parked outside of school, and I was sort of watching the kids. You know, I couldn't believe that there's still kids coming out of high school starting to smoke. I couldn't get my head around that. You know, with everything that's going on. Another thing that struck me was kids are not walking around with a 10-penny mix anymore. You know, they're not walking around with like a lollipop anymore. They're walking around with a half dozen bag of donuts and a 2-litre bottle of high sugar or, you know, very, very sweetened energy drink, you know, which means that, well, you know, there's lots of research to say that on average, the average person, like per capita, whatever, is eating up to 5 times more sugar now than they're supposed to be. But I don't think that's a true indication of the kind of problem that we've got right now. I think there's people out there that are eating 10, 15, 20, I don't know what you think, but, you know, and this is purely a massive guesstimate on my part, but perhaps up to 30 or 40 times more sugar than we're actually A, supposed to, and B, are used to or did do in the last sort of 15, 20 years. I think it's just absolutely incredible.
And it's a huge problem, guys, and we're not here to we're not here to sit here and slate things and say you should be doing this, you should be doing that. We're simply here to give our advice and give a bit of education. I go back to that mechanism and it was there for a reason. It's built in the body for that fat storage when we didn't have that abundance of sugar, but now we do have that abundance of sugar. Something quite interesting is happening. We're delving into a mechanism in the body that really wasn't meant to be abused in the way that it is being abused in. For example, I'll just give you some stuff, obviously research into addictiveness of sugar. First, I'll give you the definition. A substance addiction is actually defined as an out-of-control drug use despite negative consequences. Now, you can quite easily relate to that with something like cocaine or heroin addiction. That you see people taking that drug despite the negative consequences that they incur in their lives from it. But that's very, very easily translated into sugar as well. People will eat sugar knowing the damaging effects that it has on them. And available evidence in humans shows that sugar and sweeteners can induce rewarding cravings that are comparable in magnitude to that of cocaine. So this inbuilt mechanism that we've got, that was there for safety, it was there to help us get through a winter, is actually now our worst enemy. We're actually pre-programmed to sort out and source sugary foods. And again, when that food wasn't available to us, back when we were roaming the savannas, that simply wasn't an issue. But now, me and Craig could get in the car and go down to Tesco's and feast on whatever we'd like. And it's a real genuine problem. It really is. Yeah,
so I mean, and a lot of that is probably not new to you. But let's dive into some of the bits then. So, we've talked about why we started this challenge, why it's a great idea for everybody to cut sugar out. And now we're going to talk a little bit about, and we're just going to bounce off a little bit each other, Lorne, is pretty much our little journey into this little challenge. Now, the first thing that sort of struck me was like how easy I found it, to be honest. And it was a bit of a shock because I tried a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, a few weeks before Christmas, I decided, right, I'm going to go without sugar for a couple of weeks, and I went and did a course away at like a different location, and I bloody failed miserably, to be honest. Lorne come back, and I was dreading him sort of saying, how have you got on? And he dropped it on me. He was like, how have you got on? I was like, duh. For a split second, I was like that. Do I bullshit him a little bit here or what? But I knew he'd see straight through me, so I said, no, I completely failed. I think on the first day, someone brought biscuits in, and that was me. I just crumpled. Now I hadn't, I rarely eat biscuits, to be honest, but because I was away from home, I was, long days, studying, everyone else was eating biscuits. Before I knew it, I was eating biscuits as well, and there goes the sugar, the bloody living sugar free. This time I kind of expected similar kind of things, especially with Christmas coming up, and but for some reason, and I think I've identified what a few of these reasons are, it has felt easier. We're going to go through some of them, the greatest lessons that we've learned so far in a bit, but one of my biggest takeaways there is you might, and I know from looking at the virtual bootcamp group that some people are really struggling out there with some of these cravings and all that kind of stuff, and so don't measure yourself on what I'm saying. I'm saying that I found it quite easy. I think our route into it is probably very different. Before I started the sugar-free challenge, I've been taking magnesium supplements to help with my sleep and recovery after doing lots of running and all that kind of stuff for a long while. I'm running a test, my own sort of personal test at the minute, to the effects on magnesium and what it does to sugar cravings. And I'm a massive believer, and there's other research and other governing bodies and everything that support this, that magnesium helps a lot with sugar cravings. So I've almost topped myself up on magnesium. As well as that, I'm really, really working hard on my sleep right now. And sleep has been, research has shown that a lack of sleep will increase the amount of sugar cravings that you have, increase the strength of the sugar cravings. That's an evolutionary thing as well. In days gone by, it would have told us to go and hunt down fruit, go and find fruit, go and find honey because it was summer, we're not having a lot of sleep, the nights are quite short, and we'd go and get sugar. And the other thing is that I think I truly committed to it this time. And that's, it's a bit of a flippant comment to say, like, what does it really mean? But I told everybody. Lorne and I was in this together. We was talking about it. We was posting stuff on the virtual bootcamp. We was lining up the start of the challenge. We was lining up this webinar and all that kind of stuff. And I think I truly sort of committed to this. And that's one of the biggest differences. The takeaway from me there is it's a bit like learning to walk, isn't it? If we use a bit of an analogy here, it's a bit like learning to walk, and you should look at it the same way. And I won't pick anybody out, but there's a couple of people have mentioned, I didn't have such a good day today and all that kind of stuff. That's life, I think. And it's like learning to walk. Every now and again, you fall over because you're just learning to walk. But we don't just go, he's going to be a sitter for the rest of his life. He's never really going to be a walker. The baby's just got something built in it to stand up and crack on and keep going to try and learn to walk. Now, I think as we go through life, we lose that innate drive to carry on despite failure. Not see it as failure, see it as a bit of testing and working things out and sort of taking it from there. But what about you, Lorne? What about your route into it?
Yeah, so we first proposed this at the start of December, and I knew it was coming. So I spent a good 4 weeks getting my head around it, and again committing to it. I made a few little changes, I obviously put a post up. I changed my whey to natural whey, so there's no sweeteners in that. And then I kind of, to be honest, just went, right, let's just see how this goes. I'd committed to it, and I was going to see how it unfolded. A few little things I've taken away from it is it's a bit of bad sound though, is it?
Yeah, I think we've just got to work. We've got to work with it. I'm afraid. Sorry.
Cracking sound. Right, just give us a 1, guys, if that sound's gone back to normal.
I think we just got to keep going.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, guys. Yeah. So basically, there's a few things I took away that I've learned so far. The first one is I've not allowed myself to get hungry. When we allow ourselves to get hungry, we allow that blood sugar level to drop, and guess what? The body wants to more than anything. It's going to want to hunt down sugar. So the first thing I've learned is just to stay on top of my hunger levels. And I've done that a few ways. One of the main ways is I've just always kept a bag of almonds with me from Lidl. And I've just kept them to hand. I've got a bag in the car and I've got a bag in the staff room. Whenever I feel I'm getting a little bit hungry, they're there for me. I'll be honest, if I have needed something sweet, then I've gone to fruit. That's been my port of call. You're not going to conquer Rome in a day. You're going to have to work at things. So I've used fruit.
For me, I haven't used fruit. I've tried to stay away from fruit, and I sort of say that good sound now. I just changed the microphone a little bit. So if you're trying to manage weight, if you're actually trying to manage weight, fructose, Lorne will explain this in a second, but fructose does something different in the body. It's handled in the body different to what any other kind of sugar is. And if you're trying to manage weight, you should try and just, I would recommend you keep off fructose a little bit. I am trying to drop weight for going across the Sahara. So I'm trying to stay away from the fruit a little bit. And I've not found it that hard, to be honest, especially dried fruit. So
yeah, it's a really valid point. I'm the opposite to Craig. I'm actively trying to gain weight in terms of lean muscle mass. So I'm on a different journey as well, which has been interesting for me. Fructose is handled very different in the body. Fructose is actually more lipogenic than glucose, meaning that it's more easily converted and stored as fat. So it's something you've got to be very, very careful about. And it's a really valid point to make that what we don't want to do is substitute added refined sugars with an excessive amount of fruit. So that's something to be very, very cautious of. That's not me again demonising fruit. 30 to 50 grams at one sitting is about your max. So depending on your weight journey, depending where you are on your journey and your weight levels, I can't call that now without having a sit down and talk to you. But it's definitely worth bearing in mind.
Let's just boil this down a little bit and talk about this challenge. Okay, so we've pitched it as a challenge. Now it's unrealistic to think we're just going to cut out all sugars. So let me talk you through basically what a couple of things that I'm doing. All right. So first of all, anything that I eat, if it's not of a natural thing, if it's got a capital letter, if it starts with a capital letter, the first thing I'll do is I will have a look at the ingredients. All right. Now, if you've downloaded the guidelines, you've probably read this. Now, if it mentions any kind of sugar, of which there is 50, 60 different names for sugar, and you don't need to know them all, just look out for the O's, fructose, dextrose, sucrose, glucose, all that kind of stuff. Look out for the O's, however you say it without a dodgy northern accent like mine. And then look out for some of the O's, like sorbitol, xylitol, and all that kind of stuff. That's the majority of sugars and sweeteners that are there. If they appear in sort of the top 5 ingredients on the packet, I'm not eating that. Right? I'm not using that. I even sort of checked my mouthwash today, and third ingredient, sorbitol, which is a really powerful sweetener, artificial sweetener. And you might think, well, you're just swilling it around your mouth, you're not actually putting it into your body. But the receptors for that sweetness that fire out a lot of this insulin are in our mouth. So just by swilling it around our mouth, we are creating this insulin response in the body. So it's not really, it's not what I want. So I think what we're saying, if you agree, Lon, is this challenge is about dramatically reducing your sugar.
Yeah.
We was talking to someone the other day. I won't name her, but she was sort of saying, "Yeah, I'm doing really well with the sugar-free challenge. I'm down to 1 bottle of Lucozade a day." Right now, for a lot of people, you sort of think that's a freaking failure. Not in her eyes, because she was on 5 bottles a day. So, this is the kind of thing that we're saying, and everything in life, it's one of my lessons that I've learned throughout this and throughout the last couple of years, is that everything is a process. Like, it's not a switch where you just go, right, I'm on now, that's it, no more sugar. It's about just turning that dial a little bit. If you can take this into your fitness, if you can take it into other aspects of your nutrition, you're going to go far, because, just realising that it is that little dial that you turn bit by bit by bit, you're going to get there.
Yeah, completely agree with that. This is such an individual journey for everyone that's on it. It's a great reference, the example there. If you can go from, for example, from 5 Lucozades to 1 Lucozade, that's a massive victory. And it's all about picking your wins, during this challenge. To go completely cold turkey is an incredibly hard thing to do. It goes back to that walk analogy. You get up, you take a few steps, you fall down. You get up, you take 4 or 5 steps, you fall down. It's all about progressing through, but most importantly, as an individual for you, don't compare yourself to anybody else. It's how have you improved yourself and your life.
I'm quite keen now to get a bit of interaction. If you've sort of picked up a few strategies or learnt a couple of lessons in just what is almost a week now since we started this challenge, whack them down on the Facebook, and Lauren will keep an eye on that, and we'll just mention a couple. If you don't want your name mentioning, to be honest, it's there on Facebook and everyone's going to see it, so there's no getting out of that. But whack them down, whack down your little things, and then both Lauren and I have come up with like some of our biggest lessons to date, and I think we'll just quickly chat through them and see what comes out. The first one I got was remember that it is a process, and I can see a progression every day now of going through and sort of just turn the dial every day, drop another little bit of sugar out of there, to the point where, like, before I was using mouthwash. All right. This morning I was like, well, hang on a minute, there's a bit of artificial sweetener in there. I'm not using what I found an alternative. Them little bits, and they might be like the minutiae, which is a great word, isn't it? Minutiae. But some of you might be on some of the bigger chunk type stuff. So you might be looking at your breakfast. I know Greg, he was talking about your breakfast and how you're going to sort of clean that out a little bit. So start off with those bigger hitters before you start getting into the minutiae stuff. So that's the first one for me. It's a process.
Yeah. Let's
flip flap, Lon. What you got? What are your lessons?
Well, yeah, the ones that I've already covered is, just to reiterate, I think we got a bit of crackly sound there, guys. But my first one is, and it's stuck by me, is don't get hungry. By allowing myself not to get hungry, I've avoided a lot of the pitfalls. And secondly, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is I've kept my evenings busy. I know that evenings sat on the sofa is got idle hands, is a really, really easy time, and your willpower is quite not what it was, shall we say, first thing in the morning. And evenings are a bit of a danger zone, so I kind of highlighted that early on, and I've really structured my evenings and made sure I've been busy.
That's a good one. There's a couple of good ones coming through, Siobhan. Giving up coffee to stop so you don't have that added sugar anymore. That's a great one. Dawn, brilliant. Brilliant. That's one of my big principles in nutrition, is have protein in every meal, which really helps. Helps stopping your binge, because protein and fats, they will initiate that response in the body to tell your body that you're full, or you're starting to get full. Carbs has a very little, if any, effect on that, on producing that response. Okay, I've done a little diagram here. What Lauren's talking about. Right, we've got an artist here this week. I hope she's not watching, because she will laugh at that little drawing. But basically, it's a little glass. Right now, when Lauren was talking about filling your evenings with something, I want you to remember this little glass, because what this glass represents is your willpower. And what we're doing is, quite often, we're testing our willpower. And if you imagine your glass being sort of topped up every time you go to sleep, and then every time you make, not every time you make a decision, but a lot of times when you make a decision, you tip a little bit of this willpower out of your glass. Okay, so things like, am I going to work today? What am I going to wear to work? What colour socks am I putting on? What am I having for breakfast? What am I going on the bus? Am I going to go on the tube? Am I driving in? Which direction am I going to go? How do I avoid the traffic? All these little decisions. Think. I don't know why I drew that when I've got that, but anyway. So you use this willpower up. When you get to the evenings, then your glass is empty. There's nothing in there, and that's usually when we start to snack on I'll just shoot from the hip, shit food. So imagine now as well, if your sleep's disrupted, and if sleep is when our cup is topped up, if we're not sleeping well enough, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there is not sleeping well enough, we're starting the day without a full glass of willpower. Again, testing ourselves, making things harder still. Okay, so remember that little analogy there. Anything else, Lauren, that's coming through that you want to sort of just share?
Yeah. So Joy's just hit up with halt hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Avoiding those situations helps. Yeah, couldn't agree more, Joy. Couldn't agree more. That's what we're going to term a danger zone, isn't it? That's a danger time. That's when we fall into that state of stress, and that's when our cravings increase, like they do. When you sit and think about it, we all know that that's what happens. When we're under pressure, we're in stress, we crave those sugary foods. Our brain is craving glucose because it wants it to feed on and wants it to function. So any way we can avoid those danger zones, yeah, absolutely spot on.
I have a bit of a theory about, it is just a theory, I have no science to back this up or anything like that, right? So you make your own opinion. This is my theory. I believe that because we are so hyper-connected nowadays on mobile phones, laptops, webinars and all this kind of stuff, we've actually lost a bit of, we're not quite as in tune as we were with our internal feelings and our internal states and representations. And I believe when we talk about anger, and we talk about, what's that phrase, hungry, is it? Where you're hungry and angry at the same time. And you sort of say, we're angry. Now, have you ever noticed how angry can feel very much like focusing? You know what I mean? When you're angry on something, you focus on something. You can't let it lie. You can't, I've got to sort this out and all that. That's focus, that. So if you think about what's happening in our body, we get to the point where we're hungry. We need to focus on getting food. The focus feels like angry. It feels like anger. Okay, so it's if you can recognise, am I hungry or am I focused? And if I'm focused, I can switch my focus. I can look at something else and pay attention to something else. Being, I'm a massive believer. I taught through the NLP training that I've done that whenever we lock our positioning, our body positioning, we actually lock in our internal state as well. So if we start off and we're frustrated and we're sat there with our arms crossed and we're watching TV, we will stay frustrated until we do something about that and either change our body position, go for a shower, have a little workout, go for a little jog. Someone said, I can't remember who it was, if you're on here, let me know because you're an absolute star. They go for a workout. I think it was Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who it is. It does matter. Let us know. Rachel. It was Rachel. I'm sure it was. And she should go for a little workout, and that's phenomenal. My big one is I'll go and have a shower. I'll go and have a shower, and that will change my internal state. And I find that really helps. If anyone resonates with that or has noticed something similar to that, then let us know. Another little...
Yeah. What thing I've found that's really helped is having almost a nighttime routine. And what I mean by that is, Craig briefly touched on it. We live in such a stimulating world now that, again, going back to when we run the Savannahs, we didn't live in that world. We're now flashed at blue light continuously throughout the day. So I make a conscious effort. As of 9 o'clock, the main light goes out, and I severely reduce the time on my phone. If I can, past 9 o'clock, I won't look at my phone. And I do that for a few reasons. One is the blue light is a direct stimulant, and two, the conversations are another stimulant. If I'm watching telly in the living room, by turning off the main light, and again, this isn't science backed, but I went to a seminar a few months ago by a very influential strength coach and nutritionist, and he likened it to being back in the cave. And when the night would draw in, you'd have your fire back when we lived in caves, and your attention would be drawn to that. And that's essentially what you can kind of recreate that feeling by turning all the lights off, focusing on the telly, and you'll be amazed. If you do that from about 8:30 onwards, reduce the time you spend on your phone, you'll be amazed at how more relaxed you become, and how much easier it is just go and get into bed.
Yeah.
Again, avoiding that danger zone that we've already established is one, which is in the evening time.
I teach in the nutrition brief that I give at camp that there are certain situations in life that you're just not going to make a smart food choice, and I love what you've done there, Joy, with a halt, hungry, angry, lonely and tired. There are times when you're not going to make a smart food choice unless you get out or avoid those situations. Dawn, you asked about a couple of foods that people might know. Maple syrup, agave, and honey. My opinion, I don't really have an opinion on maple syrup. Maybe Lauren does. Agave, I would avoid because it's based, and I'm just trying to avoid fructose. So I'm trying to manage weight. I'm trying to drop weight a little bit. Honey, as far as I'm concerned, for me, raw organic honey is a go. A good quality honey is acceptable. Cheap shitty honey, like it's been wrung out of bloody some chav bee from bloody wherever, is not a go, okay? Because what you're getting there is pretty refined, crappy, chemical laced sugar that's going to massively strike up insulin. Maple syrup, Lauren, what's your take on that?
I'd avoid it. I'd completely avoid it. Going back to what Craig said there, everything he said comes with a caveat. It's within masses of moderation. That is not something, especially honey, it's not something that you want to be abusing. It's not something that you want to be using in excess. So that is the caveat I'd put on that, but I wouldn't touch maple syrup.
Yeah. I mean, all those foods that are obviously sweet, we need to be moderated. Another question there from Zane. Don't unnatural sugars have the same effect on the body as natural sugars? Okay.
Where's that?
Actually, it's further up the page there. Actually, some of these unnatural sugars, these artificial sugars, can have a much stronger effect, up to 1,000 times more stronger. They ran a test, and I think if James is listening, give me one, James, if you're listening. I haven't seen your name pop up yet, and probably hanging out there in your banana hammock or something. Anyway, he told about a TV program that he watched, and they had 2 big vats of water, and what they did was they used table sugar, to sweeten one vat, and then they used an artificial high fructose corn syrup based artificial sweetener to sweeten the other one, and it was about 9 bags of sugar to sweeten one to taste, and then yes, James is there. What's he said? 1, good, and the other one, it was like a couple of drops of this high strength fructose or high strength corn syrup, which so when we talk about having the same effect. Yes, it is the same effect, but sometimes, or quite often, it's dramatically increased. And the other thing is, because you don't have any true calorific value to that, when we talk about these hormones that are sent out saying, registering how much of a certain food type we've eaten, we get very little response there, because, some of this response will happen just as you put the sweeteners in your mouth. Another thing that people might be wondering about is sugar-free gum, sugar-free drinks, and all that kind of stuff. All they're going to do, in my opinion, is increase your hunger cravings and your sugar cravings, and they're going to tell your body to go and get more sugar. So again, we should try and avoid that. I don't know what your thoughts are, Lauren.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. There's not often that I'll just put a blanket no on stuff, but when it comes to artificial sweeteners, that is one. Even from a non-nutritional physiological perspective, just think of it from an evidence-based perspective. If you're putting a substance in your body that is 500 times sweeter than sugar with no real caloric effect, I mean, ask yourself the question, what do you think that could possibly do into your body, as a reasoned, educated individual? So my answer is just stay away.
Yeah, a little comment there from James. As you can see in the Facebook group, is xylitol was okay. Now, with xylitol, it is different. It's what's called an alcohol sugar, or a sugar alcohol, whichever way around it is. Maybe it's one of those two things, and that is handled slightly different. So you get less of a response with xylitol. So having knocked Pepsi Max on the head, I found that I'm not as hungry. Yeah, absolutely, Greg. This is exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. So all those kind of things will increase your sugar. Xylitol, in terms of your everyday life, if you weren't doing a sugar-free challenge, that's the kind of stuff that you need to be aiming for. If you need to go for an artificial sweetener, what I would suggest everyone does is just give this sugar-free at least a couple of weeks, because your taste buds are going to change. I had I'll tell you a little story. I did a 24-hour run a couple of months ago, and I did it all based on sugar. Right, so Rachel's there. Look, so brilliant. That's who made the comment about going for a workout. So I did it all on sugar, and I absolutely flatlined after the event. I had a proper hyperglycemic event. Paula's laughing. If Paula's watching, she will be laughing, because I was like a pathetic, shitty little kid, struggling with this hyperglycemic episode, and I had to limp myself, because I was driving as well, to a garage. I got up to the garage, and I was like, I managed to buy a bottle of Coke, which I've not drank for years, and I sipped Coke until I could get my blood sugar up to function again. And the Coke was vile, absolutely vile. I couldn't stomach the taste. A couple of days ago, I had a little mouthful of my sister's Fanta at our family Christmas get together. That was vile. When I was a kid, I loved it. I loved this Fanta. I was running on this stuff, And so your taste buds will change. Just stick with it, and you'll experience that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
A couple of things that I've noticed. One of the things I've noticed is the whole nation's at this. The whole nation is at this sugar-free thing. There's so many people doing this, a similar challenge, or something like this, or people talking about getting sugar-free. The body coach is all over the place at the minute, and he's talking about it. A good friend of mine who does some of the reality weight loss TV shows. He's talking about it more and more in the media, and the whole nation's at it. So there's a whole wave coming. So you're all forward thinkers and early adopters, which is great. One little note I've got here, one of the things I've noticed is being successful in anything is about doing your best when no one's looking. Okay, so I just want to, let's go through that again. Doing your best when nobody's looking, right? If you went and got in the cupboards now and there was no one to see, would it matter? That's a call that you've got to make yourself. And Lauren and I was talking about this earlier on, and as former Royal Marines, we both have very strong values and beliefs, and it would matter to us. If you're going to crack this, if you're going to get all the benefits of going sugar-free for 30 days, maybe even longer, if you fall into our little Jedi mind trick of trying to do this for longer, you're going to need to do this when no one's looking. You're going to have to be really honest to yourself, and you're going to have to find something. It's not going to come easy. I shouldn't really say that, but maybe it's not going to come easy. If you thought about it, perhaps it could come easy. But you've got to tackle this when nobody's looking, because if you can do it when no one's looking, then you've got it made. You've done it. Earlier on, I walked into the kitchen and there was some paleo chocolate cake on the side, made with honey. and I could have quite easily just buried my face in this bloody cake. I didn't. I've got to be true to myself. I've got to be honest to myself, and I've got to do this. I've got to do my best when no one's looking. So kind of remember that.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Me and Craig had a conversation yesterday about it, and we talked about that doing your best when nobody's looking, and it does mean a lot. And when you truly commit to something, you've put your reputation, you've put yourself on the line. Essentially, you've bought into something, and the more people you tell about it, the more accountable you become. The bigger it gets. And I won't eat sugar for 12 months. I can guarantee you with that, hand on heart, that will not happen. Yeah. Sometimes it just comes down to just fucking doing it. Excuse language. Just grip it by the neck and just do it. And I think that's another big lesson I've learned from this. Is just encounter each day as it comes. And do your best when no one's looking. It's a great way of putting it.
A couple of things I just want to Joy, brilliant. Oh my God, I've stopped drinking diet drinks and now I'm not as hungry. I just joined the dots. Brilliant. You've joined the dots. You've made that connection. Excellent. It's not obvious. We might sort of think, well, that's pretty obvious. It's not obvious. This is a diet drink, calorie free. Why would it make you hungry? They did a study with rats, and they gave one set of rats. Well, they gave both set of rats the exact same food type and amount. They had the same amount of access to food and all that kind of stuff. And but they gave one set of rats water and one set of rats an artificial sweetened juice or soda. And after a couple of weeks, the soda rats, I can't actually remember the percentage now, but it was around 26% fatter than the other rats, but they had exactly the same calories. It kind of makes you wonder why this is happening. A couple of other things, Chloe, some brilliant little tips here. I watch a lot of comedy or ring, stroke, message friends. I don't believe that. I don't think you've got any friends, Chloe. But anyway, moving on. To have a laugh, which is great. A distraction, that's going to change your internal state, which is brilliant. Take your mind off it. Smiling makes you happy. You're right. Even if it's temporary. Having a bath. Again, I don't believe you've had a bath, but no, I'm only kidding. But don't have a sweet tooth. And hungry for the wrong reason. I make a drink with boiling water, turmeric, cayenne pepper, and fresh lemon. Okay, try that. Let's all commit to trying that now when we're. When we get these sugar cravings or these hunger pangs, when let's get a bit of boiling water, a bit of turmeric, cayenne pepper, and a bit of fresh lemon, and see how we go with that. It's working for Chloe, so let's all give it a try and see.
I'm from Kathy there. Kathy, I'm interested to know. It might not necessarily be a sugar craving you get, more of a carbohydrate craving, and the reason that you'll be craving carbohydrates is a lot of carbohydrates have a high tryptophan content. And tryptophan goes into a process where it's basically converted to serotonin, or it produces serotonin. Serotonin is a relaxing, happy hormone. So when you're feeling down and when you're feeling when you're in that period of the month, it's no surprise that you're craving quite a sugary-filled carbohydrate. But tell us exactly what you crave. What's your choice? What actually gets you?
Yeah, tell us that. But then also think about a female cycle and what's going on there, and then also just to make it easier to think about that. Think about what goes on when you are perimenopausal. You get hit by a bus with a flood of hormones entering your body. Same with puberty in either sex. When all that hits and hormones start gushing literally around the body, these are chemical messages in our body that we just cannot resist. These things kept us alive, made us fornicate, bloody led us to food, led us to water. At our, there is a period in the evolution of man where suddenly man up sticks and walks 200 miles into another area of Africa, and what they believe this was is because they ran out of hecking water, and something inside this drive, this hormone drove them to walk 200 miles in the burning heat to find water, probably not even knowing where it is. So these are things that we just really, really cannot fight. We've got to manage them or try and avoid them. So just be aware of where you are in different cycles and stuff like that, Kathy. And magnesium is really helping for me. I believe it, even if it's a placebo, which I don't believe it is. And the research I've read, it doesn't suggest that either. But magnesium, and a little trick you can do with your magnesium as well is obviously take your magnesium every day, a couple of tablets a day, spread out throughout the day at meal timings and stuff. But if you get a really, really strong sugar craving, you can crack the pill and put it under your tongue. Just put the thing. I mean, it tastes like you've just bloody licked the gusset of a bloody 90-year-old nun. But that's not what we're. Don't focus on that. Focus on eradicating these hunger pangs. So
yeah, another thing, Kathy, as well that can be effective for stopping or eliminating those cravings is increase your calorie content by 50% in 3 days leading up to a menstrual cycle. And you might think, no way am I going to do that. What are you talking about? But that's what I advise you to do. There's good research behind it. 50% the 3 days prior, and let us know how you can get on with that. And when I say 50% increase in calories, that doesn't mean that is then made up of crap. It's exactly what you are eating clean, but increase your calories by 50%.
Yes, Dino, it's an interesting point that you posted there about about that period in time is you notice you can't lift as much, which is weird because that's a period. I've got to stop saying that word, but that's a time in your cycle when your testosterone levels are at its highest.
But also, Zina, you need to understand the stress and the trauma that is going on in your body for that 5-day period. It's no surprise to me that your performance dips, and there's research on female athletes and the menstrual cycle. So, unfortunately, that's the hand you were dealt.
Yeah. So no, it's probably not a mental thing. It is a proper physiological thing.
The more you think about it and make it a mental thing, though, it will become a mental thing. But just remember that the trauma that your body's going through.
Okay, we've been absolutely rattling on for a while, and I've loved the interaction that we're getting. We're getting on for sort of 55 minutes now. We've been going for. Now I'm prepared. I don't know if Lon can speak for himself to keep going for a little longer if people are happy with that. And I need a one for a few people. If I see a sort of thread of ones, then we'll keep going, and we'll hit some of these other questions that were pitched just before Christmas. We've sort of got five questions that Lon has sort of prepared some answers for. So if I get some ones, we will roll with it. So we'll let the little delay catch up there, and then jelly beans, Kathy. Yeah, you love jelly beans. Yeah, well, Greg, brilliant. Yeah, Siobhan, excellent.
Interesting, Kathy. It is really quite high sugary. Very interesting.
Yeah, in what sense? What do you mean? I kind of lost the thread of that.
In terms of, I assumed it would be more of a cakey, bready craving.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to carry on, and I want to. James, you should be in bed. You got a big day tomorrow.
Challenge day, James.
Yeah. Yeah, so get yourself into bed, mate. Or maybe you are tucked up in bed with your bloody banana hammock on.
We'd hear him snoring if he was.
Yeah, true. But so anyway, what I was going to say is...
On to the questions, is it?
Yeah, so we're going to get into these little questions now. So the first one then come from Doug. Is it?
No, Z-Man.
Oh, there we go. Zena, yeah.
Big Z. Right. So all I'll do is I'll just read the question. These were put on Facebook about 3 weeks ago. I'll read the question and then we'll answer it. So Z said, I have a question. Any input is welcomed. I'm currently quite heavily CrossFit training 5 or 6 times a week. My question is, how much will supplements actually affect my performance? I've been on isolate whey protein for a month and a half and taking a multivitamin as well as mercury-free omega-3s. I do see results both in my body shape and my performance. How much of that can I attribute to the supplement? Okay, so firstly, an answerable question without doing a battery of tests, I don't know. But the fact that you are seeing results is evidence in itself. So that's something to take away. He said, basically, the supplements that he's on, just to clarify that, he's on a whey isolate, he's on a multivitamin and an omega-3. All fantastic supplements to have. So first and foremost, if you're feeling better and you're happy, crack on. The evidence and the research is there to suggest that those supplements are brilliant. So almost answered your question in a way there, Z. Well done. I would, however, add a zinc and magnesium supplement.
Yeah, I was going to say ZMA.
Yeah, I'd definitely add a zinc and magnesium. Both incredible supplements to take. I take them on a daily basis.
Yeah,
so that'd be my answer there.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. BCAAs, I don't think you can, if you're doing something intense, you're doing something with high resistance in any form, BCAAs has got to be a must. Multivits, I don't know, I think you would potentially, if you've got a varied diet, and I know you have, because Dr. Dre asked you to do a bloody song and all that on your Facebook post today, but so multivits maybe get away without, in my opinion, but you might as well keep them in. And all right, so your piss is a bit stronger, so what? So that'll be good. Omega-3s, I think everybody should be on omega-3s. I think these things should be, like we used to get milk at school. I think the omega-3s should be given out at schools to our kids. They are absolute brain fuel. Every function in the body, pretty much. If you Google, the benefits of high strength fish oil, not cod liver oil, that's completely different stuff. But the benefits of high strength fish oil, there are something you've got to be on nowadays. Just because, and this is a whole topic for a different webinar, really. Just because of the type of food and the way where food comes from nowadays. And then the other thing I would say is just a ZMA just before you go, about an hour before you go to bed, to help with recovery. And what I would do is, sometimes you might think, well, how am I going to track my fatigue levels and all that kind of stuff? Just be acutely aware of how you're sleeping. Be acutely aware of your hunger pangs and whether you're getting PRs on a regular basis, and whether you're picking up illnesses and what have you. And another way that I've started doing now, because I've upped my running quite a bit, is I downloaded an app which I'll show you on the. I won't, because the bloody phone's dead. I've started a little heart rate checker app where you basically put your finger over the camera there, and when I wake up in the morning, I get the camera and I check my heart rate, and if it's, they say 10 beats per minute higher than your normal resting heart rate, you're fatigued and don't rest. I aim for about 20. I suppose the takeaway there, I don't know if you've got a thought on that, but the takeaway there is pay attention to your heart rate. You might feel all right. Your legs might be all right. Your muscles might be all right, but that doesn't mean your body's still not in a recovery mode.
Yeah. Craig's referring to CNS fatigue there, which heart rate's quite indicative of. So yeah, I'd agree with that. Keep an eye on that side of things.
Yeah, good. What's your thoughts, sugar free, on the protein powder?
Again, we go back to differing goals. When the topic of fructose came up, my goals are different to Craig, just like your goals are different to everybody else on the webinar. And that's one of the points I try and get across whenever we talk about nutrition. It's so individual, is what you're about and what you're trying to achieve. So for me, I need my isolate for the training that I do and the goals that I have. You need to be very acutely aware that it does have an insulin response, and you need to manage that. So obviously the best time to consume that is after exercise, when your body's going to deal, and it's going to almost be beneficial for you to get that insulin response, especially from the training perspective. So my thoughts, for me as an individual, I require it. You need to decide as an individual whether it has a place in your diet. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, if you line up the next one, I've just got a quick question there from Greg about dark chocolate. How good is that? Our golden rule at camp is aim for a minimum of 75% dark chocolate, purely because the cocoa to milk ratio is much better, and less sort of refined sugar and all that in there. Again, just aim for a quality bit of dark chocolate. And when I was going through the process of losing my first big batch, over 4 stone of weight, I really struggled to, with sugar cravings. I didn't know what I knew. I didn't know then what I know now. And say again.
It's a song, isn't it?
It's a song, yeah. And I had basically had a slab of 75% dark chocolate in the top of the fridge, and every time I walked past the fridge, I would break off a bit. Now, because it's so bitter, you tend not to gorge yourself on the dark chocolate. It's enough to sort of quell your sugar cravings, but you're getting other stuff from there. You're getting a bit of goodness, some vitamins and minerals from that dark chocolate. So yeah, same again. If you want something to help, Greg, get it down your neck, but moderate it. You shouldn't, because it's so bitter. You won't tend to sort of binge on it too much. But 75% or more.
Cool. Next question was from Siobhan. said, I wanted to know more about natural supplements and which ones, if any, are worth taking, or if a good balanced diet is sufficient. So, firstly, it's worth explaining. A supplement is exactly what it says on the tin, is there to supplement a good balanced diet. However, we now live very different lives to what we used to. I think we can all by our recognition, we're a lot busier, we're exposed to a lot more toxins, and some people's lives are a lot more manic than others. So supplements, without a doubt, have their place in anybody's lives, especially those that are training hard. So, the question was more about the natural supplements and which ones, if any, are worth taking. We've already covered 2, zinc and magnesium. Without a doubt, I'd have that in anybody's supplement stack. I personally would have a vitamin C. I would have an omega-3 and 6 that we've already talked about, my choice being Eskimo Brain Sharp. For me personally as well, I'd have a vitamin D and a vitamin K2. Now the vitamin D is an interesting one. About 88% of the world's population are deficient in vitamin D. And it's something that's coming to the fore a lot more. People are starting to get a lot more aware. I would without a doubt, especially in the climate that we live in, I would have a vitamin D supplement and I'd have vitamin K2. So that, in answer to your questions, Yvonne, is what I would recommend. That's my supplement stack, and it's what I would recommend to clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, Lorne is very much supplements are a huge part of what he does. For me, it's not really to supplement any huge gains in strength and that kind of stuff. It's more of a basic just getting through life and being healthier. So I'm going to share a picture on the Facebook page actually of the supplements that I take. Not to create a sale or anything like that, because it's just a picture I've just whipped off the internet. But just to sort of show you what I've got, and it's purely more convenience than anything else. Let me just. That's the one, is it? Yes, there you go. And it's by a company called Pure Pharma, and it's basically called 3. And it comes in its own little handy pack, and you get all the tablets you need for that day in one little pack. Right, so it's dead convenient for me. You eat it with food. I also add an extra 6. What would it be? 3,000 milligrams of omega-3s each day, and which is way above what the recommended daily allowance is. But I believe you cannot have enough omega-3s. I don't think you can overdose on them, and so that's what I will tend to do. So you've got 2 spectrums there. You've got, if you're doing lots of intense hard graft and you're working out and you need to recover well and train well and grow or get faster, leaner, fitter and all that kind of stuff, you need a supplement. Or you would benefit. You don't need it, but you would benefit from supplementing like Lorne does. And then for me, could you add the supplements on your Facebook? Yeah, okay. We'll get Lorne to type them in. I would sort of tend to that. I would aim for this plus omega-3s. When you talk about sort of natural stuff, are you? And I'm not sure who asked this question. But
it was Siobhan. Yeah, I assume she didn't mean homeopathic. I hope she didn't, but she might have done.
Well, things like evening primrose and and all.
Let us know, Siobhan, what did you actually mean? Hopefully you meant what I meant.
Yeah.
In answer to your question, Zena, shouldn't we be able to get those nutrients in foods we eat? Why do we have to resort to supplements? It's just the examples I gave at the start, to be honest. We don't always get it from our diet. Some people aren't as strict and in control as they should be. And they're just there as a safety net. That's essentially all they are. You shouldn't rely on them. They're just there as that safety net, especially for the athlete population.
Yeah. Don sort of mentioned about probiotics. Real mixed bag for me, probiotics. I've never taken any probiotics. I know that sort of candida and stuff like that in the gut is incredibly powerful in creating sugar cravings in our body. An imbalance of the natural bugs and all that are in our gut, really. I've read a couple of books of people that I respect in the nutrition world, and they sort of promote probiotics a little bit. I don't really know enough to have an opinion, to be fair. I don't know if you do, Lorne, but
yeah,
I don't. I think you've got to run a bit of a trial there, and
gut health is massively important. If we don't have the appropriate environment for our body to absorb the nutrients we're giving it, needless to say, we're not going to absorb them. So probiotics do have a place and they are important, but it depends upon your current gut health. All a probiotic does, if you think of your intestinal tract and you think of it the most basic way, connected together. what can happen, they're called tight junctions, and what can happen with these tight junctions, they're the barrier basically between the intestinal tracts and the rest of the body. And what can happen sometimes is these tight junctions become loose, and foods can actually slip in and through from a damaged gut wall. So it's very, very important that you have good gut health. You can do that numerous ways. You can go prebiotics, probiotics. Again, this is a whole other webinar in itself. But if it's a concern you've got, then do some reading into it, look into it. It is very important.
I think, in the grand scheme of things, if you're just genuinely trying to be healthy, you're genuinely trying to manage weight, get through life, be active enough, then stacks of colour on your plate, some lean meats, fresh fruit and veg, nuts and seeds. You're going to get everything that you need. Okay. The only thing that I would throw in for everybody is, like I said, is omega-3s. So you don't have to supplement until you start doing something extra. All right, in my opinion. So don't put pressure on yourself that you've got to go out and buy all these potentially expensive supplements.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's put a caveat on that. This isn't, this was just answering one question from one person. Not by any means are we advocating that you go and break the bank and buy supplements. But again, it comes back to that individual nature. If you require them, then there's definitely a place for them.
Yeah. Next.
Okay, moving on to some behavioural questions now, and this is why I had these, because I thought they were quite interesting. Okay, Kate asked, regards to nutrition, what would you recommend as safe nutrition options if you are not in control of how your food is prepared or cooked, i.e. in a restaurant? My first answer, and I don't know if Craig agrees with this, is you're always in control, Kate. You are always in control of how your food is cooked and how you eat it, to the point that you don't have to eat something. So ultimately you have the control. Now, that's oversimplifying things. You go out to a meal, you go out to an Indian, for example. You go out to an Indian and you're with friends. And we understand that there's big social pressures when you go out. You don't want to be the odd one out, you don't want to be the awkward one. But at the same time, you're on a goal, you have a goal, you're on a journey, and you need to consider that. So little things you can do, i.e. when you go to a restaurant, you go to an Indian, you need to pick dishes that you know how they're cooked. A chicken tikka is cooked in a clay oven, and is a fantastic choice. You could have some rice on the side with a bit of salad. Straight away, you're out in an Indian with friends, but you've got what appears to be a very balanced meal. So I don't know what Craig thinks, but that's my answer. Just be very cautious of where you are, and be very conscious of it. No chef, if you say to him, look, can I just have a plain chicken breast, will be bothered by that. That's easier for him to do. So you are always in control, is my answer to that.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I sort of try and say, and you've got to remember that it's like music. We've all got different tastes in music, and Lauren's got his opinion on stuff, and I've got my opinion. You might resonate with me more than him more than me, or whatever. My take is that, that same thing again. There's certain social situations or certain events in life or whatever where you're going to really struggle to make a smart food choice. But I agree with Lauren in the fact that you are always in control. Now, one of the most damaging things that I see when I coach people to eat better and to sort the nutrition out is that they carry a lot of guilt, and they have a lot of guilt associated with different types of food, and guilt is really, really destructive in any shape, way, shape or form. Think back to when your mum said to you, "Where's your dad gets home?" You know what I mean? You're in the shit. You felt rotten, and guilt is incredibly destructive. My pitch on it is, we cannot have 80% nutrition, 20% training. It needs to be 100% nutrition, 100% training. What I mean by that is it gets your focus, it gets the priorities that it needs to have, and it's on your terms. It's always on your terms. Now, if you decide you're going to go to your sister's birthday party, and everyone's going to be pissing up, and there's going to be a buffet there, and all them foods that you might love or associate with having a good time through your childhood and all that kind of stuff is there, and it's going to be readily available. You're going to have a few drinks and all this kind of stuff. And if you put the pressure on yourself to, that you're going to eat like a monk all night, you're kind of lining yourself up for a bit of failure there. Whatever you decide, if you decide to go, the potential's there. You're going to step into the lion's den. My advice is ditch the guilt. Whatever happens, happens. It was your choice. You chose to do whatever you're going to do. Take responsibility for it and just get back on the wagon the next day. Now that's not carte blanche to go and just bury your face in bloody curly fries at the next buffet. You know, you've got to sort of give it your best shot. And but the takeaway really, excuse the pun, is ditch the guilt. You know, really sort of ditch the guilt.
Yeah, and it leads on to perspective, doesn't it? If that does happen, and for whatever reason you are in a situation where you can't make educated choices, whatever that might be, is the perspective on it. You must keep perspective at all times. If you've had 30 days where you've eaten absolutely fantastic and you've had one blowout, that is not an excuse to then fall off the wagon. That just doesn't fly. There's no excuse for that. It's a case of saying, right, one day out of 30 days, what's that? And I'm back on it.
I was at a seminar recently with and James Cracknell was talking, who both Lord and I admire massively because he's just fucking nuts, to be fair. But you know, we really admire him. And someone posed the question, you know, what keeps you going when times get tough? And he says, well, two things. First of all, I remember what everyone else has given up in order for me to do these challenges. So my wife, my kids, you know, his press agent, his friends and family and all that kind of stuff. They've all made allowances for him to go and trek around the Arctic or run across the desert or whatever, which really struck home with me. And then the other one thing he said was, and then I always remember that it was my choice. And just as I did there, left you with a bit of silence to ponder about it. When things get tough, when things get, you know, really tough, you've got to kind of remember it's your choice. Like, you know, you put yourself there. So to get a bit of responsibility about it, and you know, and keep going, crack on, get back on the wagon, and work to be a better version of yourself the following day.
Yeah, and it comes back to my original point of control. You are always in control before, during, and after the event. Don't allow an event to dictate how you will then behave following it. You are still in control. Yeah,
and we try and promote at Team Bootcamp not to have like massive food bloody Nazis or exercise Nazis. You know, we've got to be realists. There's a lot going on in life. You know, a hell of a lot going on in life. I heard a story today about someone you chat away and then just dropped in the conversation. Oh yeah, and I think I've got breast cancer. I was like, how busy is life when that's not even the first thing that we talk about? You know what I mean? It was just. So this is life. There's so many things going on. So you know, we've got to say that. Okay, what's this? No one trips over a mountain. I suppose that's stumble.
Very, very good point.
That's a great saying, Kathy.
I like that.
An absolute, you know, brilliant saying there. If you've not read it on the Facebook thread there, I heard a saying that no one trips over a mountain. It's the pebbles that makes you stumble. And that's exactly right. You know, it's these tiny little things, and then you know you start to fall. And if you don't manage to regain balance quick enough, then you know away you go. You fall on your ass. So it's good. Okay, again we're pushing on for time now.
Yeah, we're going to do one more question. We're not going to do the training question. We'll save that for another one. Just the last behavioural question from Doug. Your opinion on using cheats to get into better habits, i.e. coffee, etc., to stop snacking. My opinion on that, Doug, is first of all, ditch the cheat, because it's not a cheat, it's a stepping stone. We go back to our example of the Lucozade and going from 5 down to 1. That's not cheating by having 1, that's an incredible amount of progress. So first of all, change the way you look at that. If you can have a cup of coffee that's going to stop you having a chocolate bar, then that's a stepping stone. It's just where you go from there. It's not replacing one bad habit with another, it's just about making positive steps forward. So in my opinion, if you can use something to step forward positively, then fantastic. Thoughts, Craig?
To be honest, I wasn't listening, and I'm sorry for that. I was zoned out. I was reading Chloe's comment, which was really, really good. So
we're talking about making positive steps forward, introducing a substance or a substitute in place of something else.
Yeah, we call it a cheat, but it's kind of a smart move, isn't it? You know, when you think about it, it's like, you know, there's a saying in the Marines, you don't need a kick in the nuts to know it hurts. And, you know, if there's something that you can do to, like, make your progress a little bit easier, grease the groove or, grease the wheels or whatever, why wouldn't you use that? You know what I mean? it just stands to reason. Now, again, the caveat is that's not carte blanche to just go and do well, I'm going to swap this for this because Craig says that's all right. So it's a smart thing to do, and it's again, that is that turn of the dial that we started off this webinar with. Okay, so this 5 bottles of Lucozade that we talk about is, going down to 4 is a turn of the dial, going down to 3 is a turn of the dial, down to 1 is another turn of the dial to keep it going. Sometimes it's too much for people to just go, I'm going to switch this and just don't do any Lucozade from here on in. So it's got to be a good move. And I tell you what, I believe that we should be doing as well is whatever those little cheats are. Whoever is that? Doug was it? Was it Doug that said?
Doug asked the question. Yeah.
Get them in this group. This is what this virtual bootcamp is about. It's about sharing these nuggets of knowledge. We can't, we can't.
We're here as a team, aren't we? That the clue's in the title, and that virtual bootcamp is going to help us on this challenge. I'm
interested to know what you're laughing at there, Dawn. You just put loads of people crying. So either that or Oppo's chewed your TV up or something like that. But okay, so
that brings then to the question, guys. That we wanted to answer those because you asked them and you put them out there. For me, I just want to clarify the fructose thing. It's been playing on my mind as we've just been carrying on. Without going into any rabbit warrens, when it comes to fructose and it comes to weight loss, like we explained, I'm on a very different journey to you guys and to Craig. Just in this room, we're both on 2 different journeys. I can lean on fruit and I can use that fruit just to substitute those cravings when needed. Just be very, very acutely aware that fructose is highly lipogenic. It will have an effect on you if you consume it too much. Now, without going through a battery test and getting very individual with it, just keep that at the forefront of your mind. What we don't want to do is promote excessive intake of fruit. So I'll leave it at that, if that makes sense. I just wanted to clarify that. Fruit will help you, but do not abuse it.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Definitely. Okay, so I want to finish now. You like that? You don't need a kick in the nuts to know it hurts. I just want to sort of finish off now, and I'm going to come to you in a minute, Lorne, and everyone else sort of think about it and post what you think. But what is it that is exciting you right now? What's coming in the next few weeks, in the next few months that is truly exciting you and makes it worth getting out of bed and doing something? For me, what's exciting is I am loving seeing this community in the virtual bootcamp just grow and grow and grow. We had about 20 or 30 people join over the last couple of days, and a couple of which, Kathy, if you're still on here, they've joined in the last couple of days, and it's just great to see because we're even starting to bring people in now that have not. They started as a group of people that have been to Team Bootcamp, and it's growing more than that. It's really exciting because we've committed to go and do these health days in different cities or different towns around the country where we're going to bring as much of the Team Bootcamp team plus some of the long-termers that have got some incredible stories and tips and advice to the town near you really, and then just have a day where you come and join us and we go through the nutrition training that we do at camp. We talk about we do a fitness Q&A. Paula will do some hypnotherapy demonstrations and which is pretty funky stuff. I mean, just before Christmas, Paula did some hypnotherapy on me, and I had a bit of a thing with peanut M&Ms, and there was no way I was going to live sugar-free for 30 days. Definitely not a year, whilst I had this thing with peanut M&Ms, and she eradicated that from my life. So it is pretty powerful stuff. The wave that is building in this group and these webinars and with Lorne's help is really exciting for me, and I kind of want to thank everyone for that because and let's keep it going. Let's see how big and how effective and how powerful this thing can be in people's lives. The feeling I get when Doug posts about the way his life's changed, just from a few words that I put on the screen, it is phenomenal. So Bournemouth, Kathy, yeah, we'll try and get down there because I know there's a few people down in Bournemouth. So we'll maybe have a chat and try and find a location and then get down there. So it'll be pretty good. Lorne, what's exciting you?
This place, to be honest, Craig. Yeah, it really is. I feel
He doesn't smile often, Lorne, but he just let a little bit of a smile go there. So.
Yeah, this place is the energy around camp at the moment is brilliant. And I wake up every morning and I'm happy to be here. We've got so much going on this year. I'm away on courses, Craig's away on courses, Paula's away on courses. We're simply offering stuff that no one else is, and I take a massive amount of pride in that. And I'm so happy to be here and be part of it. And we want you guys to come, as much as you can, be a part of the virtual bootcamp group, contribute as much as you can, and just make this something.
Yeah. So let's see what we've got. I have 5 kids and all boys. Greg, I never knew you had that many lads. You got a 6-a-side team there. That's brilliant. Can't wait for spring, summer. Lose weight and be that dad who never stops now. Phenomenal, Greg. From what you're saying there, your motivation, joy. I have the power to change. From what I remember you at camp, I could have wrote that sentence for you. Brilliant. Great to see you keep that going. And you truly do have the power to change your life. You really do. And the people around you now in the virtual bootcamp group, Dawn, keep it going. Really enjoying this. Phenomenal. I tell you what really excited me as well. Off topic, and we've got to wrap this up soon. Is that I'm seeing Oppo. I'm getting Oppo back for a weekend in March.
Yeah,
he's coming to see me in March, and just thinking about it really makes me smile. So, who, if you don't know, was a little puppy for a while, and then Dawn took the Satan's puppy, and is doing much better with him. Which tells an amazing story of when he went to doggy daycare and got expelled for pinning down a Rottweiler, so which is phenomenal. Joy, what we've got: Craig, I'm 55 this year, and Team Bootcamp gives me faith I can change. And 2016 will be my year. You're right, and I'm challenging a lot of people in different things, different projects that I'm working on, to make 2016 the best year yet for them. All right, and it's there for us all, really. And I don't know what it is about this year. Maybe it's because of the people that are around me are so special, but this feels like an incredible year. Just can't afford food anymore. Get you, Greg. Brilliant. Okay, any last afterburners from anybody? Anyone?
Was there anything there that we brushed over or wasn't quite clear? I'm always conscious of that. We'll just leave that going. Just for about 60 seconds. Anything you want explaining, basically.
Yeah, just stick them down there in the group, and we'll keep an eye out for that. And a bit of a look forward. Then we're going to aim to have our next webinar in 2 weeks' time. And what I'd like you to do really is to make it a bit of a bring a friend along. Really, invite someone that you believe that would benefit from this type of information. And don't forget that you can also you can control what we say on this webinar by posting your questions, and even if you don't want to post it publicly in the group, then you can send us a message or whatever. And but thanks for your interaction. I didn't expect so many people to join us and so many people to get stuck in like you have. So that's absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to go through and try and like everyone's post in a second, and just to show that I appreciate it all.
So just for me, guys, just going forward, if we can contribute as much as we can to this group, really build a community, share your experiences as much as you can with the sugar-free thing. It's not an easy thing to do, and there's not many people in the world doing it. So take a bit of confidence and pride in that. There are not many people doing what you're doing. So be proud of it and share it. And it also, allows people to buy in, and it allows people to see things from different perspectives.
Great. Some great comments coming in, guys. You obviously can see there. Chloe, it'd be great to have you back. And I want to see you leap over that obstacle course. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, Greg. So that's 5-10 seconds just to see what clicks over. And if there's going to be nothing, the last thing I will say that is, just have a look around you and.
Just about notifications.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I can't show you now, but if you scroll to the top of the virtual bootcamp group, you'll see a little thing saying notifications, and if you click on that, you can set it to get all the posts. Now we won't spam you with loads of shit, and we really try and keep any sort of salesy type stuff out of this group. It's not what it's about. It's about accountability and support for everybody, not trying to get people to camp. I think that will naturally happen anyway. So get that, hit the notifications, so you get all posts. Continue to be active, and let's keep going with our little community. Off out with a hound from hell. There he is. So cheers, Siobhan. Well done, Zena. Thank you very much for the webinar. Great way to keep everyone educated and motivated.
Yeah. It's been pretty late for you, Zena. Jesus.
Yeah. I'm not sure what time it is out there, but
I really appreciate you staying up if that is the case. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so the final thing that I want to sort of say is, have a look around you, and if other people have done what you're trying to achieve, then that means you can do it as well. And if they haven't done it, then that means you can be the first. Okay, so I want to sort of leave you with that. Any words of wisdom, Law? Probably not, because it's not me.
Just get it done, guys. That's all I can say. Become it, live it, breathe it. Just do what needs to be done, and always do your best when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Great saying.
Perfect. Okay, so until next time, take care, look after yourself, and keep going on your sugar free.